All right. Thanks for everybody for joining us tonight. If you're on the call, please go ahead and mute yourself so that that way anybody that's speaking does not get distracted. I hope everybody got on okay. This is a really great opportunity to make sure you utilize this program, the software, through a laptop or a computer. I've found that using it on your phone is successful as well. There's an actual app, like mobile app, that you can download. It's called Ring Central Meetings. So if you're in the car or heading somewhere with your folks or somebody, you can always use that app, or you could also just call in through just dialing the number that's associated with the meeting, and then it'll ask you for a meeting ID. The meeting ID will always be the same. So so you guys can join that way. We're going to try and actually record each of these every time we get together and meet, so that way those who could not make the meeting has ability to view it later on. So first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for the successful interview period that we ran. I officially sent out contracts for all of the paid positions that we've identified and sent those out yesterday. So many of you have gotten those. Please make sure to sign those, complete them, and scan, email, or save and send back to me as soon as possible. The sooner you do that, the sooner we can get you started in the rest of the paperwork that is available and out there to do. So moving forward, I'd like to introduce our summer camp leadership team. Again, we've got many of you have met each of these individuals at the interviews. First and foremost, Mary Steck, who will be the camp director for the Gerber Scout Camp, Scouts BSA side. Keith Oliver, who will be the program director for the Scouts BSA Gerber Scout Camp side. Colin Luchek, who was the business manager last year for Betty Ford Adventureland, he will be our camp director for the Betty Ford Adventureland this summer. And Spencer Snope, who was the program director in 2019 last year, who will also be the program director in 2020 this year. So you kind of wonder, what's new with camp this year? There are a lot of great new things. First and foremost, we've got a strong leadership team, so that's new. There are a lot of new folks on that team. We'll have new leader guidebooks, which we'll share here in a little bit. We're going to have to come up with some new programs and some new themes and some ideas. There's some things out there like the Guide to Safe Scouting that has limited us to rethink some of the things we do, like dodgeball and sponge wars on the Cub side. And we'll have to come up with new evening programs and activities. We're going to have this summer, there's going to be a new approach to starting camp. Both the Cub Scout side and the Scouts BSA side will both start at the same time. So with that, there's going to be a lot of new things that we'll be doing this summer during staff week that we hadn't done in the past. The entire team as one reservation will be working to set up camp as a whole. So that's new and exciting. We'll have new customers. There's new units from all over the state. They'll be joining us this summer for the first time. So we got to make sure that all of them are welcomed and received in a proper way. We'll have new themes. One new theme for the Cub Scout side for Betty Ford. We'll have a new theme for the Gerber Scout BSA side. We're going to get some new flair. We'll have a whole new CIT plan program. Really excited about this for bringing on and educating and developing our future staff at this camp. That's going to be led by a new person, Bernice Oliver, who is Keith's wife. She will be working to develop a plan for all of the CITs and to run them through to give them a better understanding of what it is to be a staff member, give them some cool experience and opportunities to be a part of the staff, and then lastly, engage as a counselor in training. There are some new items that we're going to get for a while. Right now, for the Scouts BSA side, we're kind of considering a 14-foot iceberg to put out at the waterfront, which is, its capacity is like crazy. You can put a whole ton of people on this, and it looks like a lot of fun, and I think it'll be a great addition to our waterfront. The other one of the wild pieces that we're looking at possibly doing is an activity island. So for the Cub Scout side, down at Pirates Cove, we'll probably getting one of these to put out there in place of the one of the floating docks that we typically use for the Cub Scout side. Now, for these webinars, every month we're going to bring on a special guest, and they're going to give us some quality information and things to think of, and to help us get prepared and ready for summer camp this summer. So each month will be a different guest speaker and a professional from the field. I'll talk about these later on, but our first guest tonight is our Scout Executive for the Michigan Crossroads Council, Mr. Don Shepard. Don has been a very active scouter and nationally, worked at the National Council, has led many different councils, and we are super excited to have him on tonight. So I'll turn it over to Don. Don's going to share with us some exciting, inspirational thoughts and things as we kick off a new year for our summer camp. Don?
Hey, thanks, Ryan. So I just wanted to take a few moments this evening to address the staff and talk a little bit about, kind of the history behind and the emphasis behind what we do as a scouting movement. And when we come together as staff, some things to think about. And so I want to kind of read through a little bit of a presentation that we've put together that I've shared in the past, and I'd like to share with this team. So the Boy Scouts of America stated the aims that we're trying to accomplish, and they've also have identified the methods we use to accomplish these aims. The aims of scouting are tied to our mission. The mission of the Boy Scouts of America is to prepare young people to make ethical and moral choices over their lifetimes by instilling in them the values of the Scout Oath and Law. So the aims that we're trying to accomplish are the same for all of our programs. And those aims are character development, citizenship training, and mental and physical fitness. Character encompasses a Scout's personal qualities, values, and their outlook. Scouts learn confidence, honesty, and self-respect. Scouts respect other people regardless of the differences. Scouts practice their religious beliefs. Scouts work among others in their pack, troop, or crew with rules based on the common good. Scouts learn about and take pride in their own national heritage. A Scout understands social and economic and governmental systems. A Scout learns service, tolerance, and community involvement. A Scout improves their physical condition through exercise and outdoor activities. A Scout encourages good health habits, and a Scout discourages drugs and alcohol and tobacco use. Scout learns sound judgment, resourcefulness, and decision-making skills. And a Scout learns practical life skills they are not going to receive in any other one place. Each of our programs are targeting the maturity and interest level of our young people participating in that particular program. These things, the things that Cub Scout age youth like to do, are likely to be successful at, is not the same things that Scouts BSA age or venturing age Scouts do. So as the maturity of the Scout develops, so does the program that they are participating in. The aims are the same in each scouting program, but the methods used to deliver that program have some differences. All programs are methods that build upon one another as Scouts age through the Boy Scout programs. In Cub Scouting, for example, some of those methods are unique, like family involvement and being involved in home and neighborhoods. Another example, our Scouts BSA shares uniforming with Cub Scouting, but uniforming, for example, is not a method in the venturing program. Scouts BSA uses patrols and the outdoors as a method. whereas venturing uses high adventure and hobby activities to teach others. Methods change from time to time in the programs as we find better ways to address our aims. The aims never change. So for a moment, I want to think about the aims as the mail we deliver to our scouts, and the methods as the programs and the systems that are used by our volunteers or the proverbial mail carriers to deliver their mail to the scouts. How do our mail carriers deliver the mission of scouting? Now, our mission comes with a lot of values that we're trying to teach these children. We instill values through the methods to achieve those aims of scouting. So think about this for a moment. We have programs like Cub Scouting, Scouts BSA, and Venturing, and they have the same aims, but they have a different methodology for making those aims come true. So ask yourself the question, are we a program that is camping, that happens to teach values, or are we a values program that uses camping to deliver our mission to young people? We ask our scouting volunteers to do a lot of mail delivery for us. We ask them to deliver mail to young people, mail like character development, where they'll use the ideals of our Scout Oath and Law, making it so a child develops character. We also deliver citizenship, where adult role models will be the method that we use to pattern for youth how we as citizens in their country should live and engage others. We have service to others, where some of our badges require service hours, or there will be a service project that a pack, troop, or crew will do to help someone in need. We ask them to deliver the mail about faith, where we use a chapel service at camp perhaps, or a religious emblem program to deliver this piece of mail. We have physical fitness that's important to us also. Physical fitness where we keep ourselves physically strong and go camping and hiking or canoeing. And we try to find a way to turn a hobby into something where a child will be physically fit. Or even using parts of the Scout Oath and Law, like trustworthy and loyal, where every scout stands up and they say the Scout Law, and then their scout leader, den leader, or advisor tries to find a way that they can compare that law to their real life situations. Well, I want you to imagine for just a moment that the leader's mailbox is the mind of the child that we're going to serve this summer. And that child's mind is often closed. And we try to deliver some of those mail pieces like loyalty to that mind. But in their mind, it's closed and it won't go in. So the good scouting leaders must have meetings and activities and outdoor activities and summer camp where they can create a time when that mailbox opens. That child's mind opens up and begins to learn and have an aha moment. And these leaders can deliver that mail. You as leaders can deliver that mail. Now, perhaps it's a camping trip where a young patrol leader learns that yelling is not going to be the way to make their troop do the dishes any faster. And the scoutmaster gets to sit down and have a counseling session with them. And that mailbox opens, and that child's mind opens, and the leader hand delivers the proverbial mail or message. Let's say then they try to put too much mail in at one time, and that mind goes closed again. That's why we have more than one camping trip or more than one activity or a full week of summer camping so that they can go out the next day, the next week, or the next month and find a way to open that child's mind again and instill the message even further. Over a period of time, there will be camping trips and campfires and all sorts of activities, hikes, and things that go wrong, like burning pancakes. Or every time it happens, the leader is looking for an opportunity to deliver the mail. You know, it's an amazing thing in scouting. Over a period of time, those leaders are out there putting mail into the young person's mind. but there is a magic moment that happens. And that magic moment happens when that leader realizes that they have delivered the mail successfully to their scout. And that young person, well, that young person has so much mail inside their mailbox that their flag finally goes up. This means that the scout is ready to deliver the mail to another scout now. That's what makes us a scouting movement. When this happens over and over in every community across this great nation, we become a movement. And when we have a scout telling another scout that it's okay to be the good guy, take the high road, to say no, to be compassionate with others, and so on, we have made the scouting program come to life. I don't think that most parents understand exactly what scouting will do for their child. See, I don't think that they understand all the opportunities that are going to be created, or how their son or daughter will be taught to work with other people, or how to live a life of cheerful service to others. I don't think they understand that we're going to deliver the mail to their son or daughter in such a way that when their child is 12 or 13 years old, they can teach a lesson to 11-year-olds about being trustworthy and loyal and helpful, or to other scouts as it relates to the trail to first class. When they turn 15, there are scouts all over the country that are learning the words to certain ceremonies. So they can go out and at 15 years old, teach youth and adults alike about these values. They'll learn to recite the Order of the Arrow ceremonies like, reverently Mateo bids you henceforth keep the strictest of silence. Cheerfully, Nudikid bids you to not flinch from self-denial. Kitchkanet will tell you the loneliness ahead and bid you asleep apart from others. As the chieftain I exhort you, spend the day in arduous labor, working gladly, not begrudging. Seek to serve, and thus be faithful. I don't think that parents understand that there are 15-year-olds in the world who are willing to say things like that to other 11, 12, and 13-year-olds, let alone their adult leaders. And that's what makes scouting so special. You see, those 15-year-olds are telling others, it's okay to love one another. It's okay to live a life of cheerful service. It's okay to bear the burden off the shoulder of their fellow scout. And that's the magic of scouting. The very fact that we choose to live our lives by an oath and law, and we have a mission to deliver that oath and that law to as many young people as we possibly can, is the magic that only we can create. Day by day, there are teachers, bankers, craftsmen, and farmers. In fact, they come from every background you can possibly imagine. They come from every big city, small town, and every place you've ever heard of. They come from every faith, race, economic background, and you're surrounded by them. There are more than 1 million of them across America, and none of them know all the rest of them. By night and weekend, they are our mail carriers. They are men and women that deliver the mail of scouting. They are our volunteers. They are parents, they're leaders, they are employees, they are citizens. They are the role models of everything that is great in our country. They are the men and women that have the courage to go on trips where the patrol members forgot to bring the food, to endure the blisters on their feet, to persevere the rain or snow that made the camp out, the one that will be remembered for a child's entire life. They are the ones that sat around the campfire with a group of Webelos on their first camping trip and answered questions about the universe. Or they stayed up at night helping a family that doesn't have the tools to build a Pinewood Derby car, perhaps. They are the volunteer. They are doing it because they're having fun. They're doing it because they love being part of Scouting's mission. They're doing it to get the opportunity to open the mind of a child. They're doing it because they're passionate about delivering the mail. Folks, you're about to become part of the opportunity to deliver the mail to a group of kids this summer. And we're so excited that this team is coming together, and we're so excited for the opportunities that are in front of us as we approach 2020 summer season. And I hope that each and every one of you will think about some of the words that I've said this evening, and I hope you will be our mail carriers at camp. I hope you will deliver the promise, and I hope that you will live the Scout Oath and the Scout Law as you work for us this summer and deliver this program to the youth that that will come to our facilities and that we will serve. So Ryan, I really appreciate the opportunity to address the group tonight. I'm super excited about what scouting has to offer, and I hope each and every one of our staff members is prepared to deliver the promise.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. We will hold comments and questions. Actually, we'll give a little bit of time right now to offer comments or questions for Mr. Shepard so that he may be on his way and do the things he needs to do. He's got a big staff planning conference coming up this entire next week for the entire team of the state of Michigan. So if anybody has a comment or question, go ahead and here's your opportunity to ask this Chief Scout Executive of the Michigan Crossroads Council what's on your mind.
I just wanted to point out that I really liked the analogy of mail and the mailbox. I thought that was pretty neat. I don't have any questions though.
Thank you.
By the way, I have no copyright on any of this information. If you're interested in it, we can certainly provide it to you, and you're welcome to use it on your own and at your own convenience.
Good to know.
I guess I have a question. What are your plans or ideas for improving camps coming up to this 2020 season, especially camps within the MCC and Gerber and stuff?
Sure. So there are a number of things that are going on. We're working on a shower model for several facilities that need new showers. Gerber is one of them. We probably are not going to get started on the Cub Scouts shower house side until after the season is over, just simply because of the availability of contractors and things of that nature. But we are working to make improvements to that. Over the course of the winter, we have redone the entire Chafee bunkhouse. We've been working on a number of cabins and latrines throughout the campsites. You know, there are a number of roofs that have been replaced. You know, the list kind of goes on and on based on the needs that have arisen at Gerber Scout Reservation. But the big things right now are related to the replacement of the shower houses and the upgrades to the cabins. And those are going on. You know, the cabins have started already, but the shower house facility will not begin until after camp is over, as I mentioned before. But that's kind of the long and the short of what we got going on. There is going to be a bunch of new signage. There's a new ranger on the staff. Chris has come to the staff as a volunteer previously, a lot of knowledge, and he's working diligently in the off season to take care of a lot of the routine maintenance. And so, you know, those are probably the things that I can spring on you right now without looking at the what's called the construction in progress list. Does that
Awesome.
help?
Thank you. Yep. Thank you.
Don, last I remember, I think it's right around what, about $2 million we've spent in the last year on camp improvements across the state?
That's correct. Yep. And there's $1.2 million being prepared to be spent between 2020 and the spring of 2021. It doesn't take long, by the way. That seems like a very big number, but it doesn't take long to spend that kind of money when you're talking about building shower houses and all that kind of thing.
Absolutely. All right.
Any other questions? Great.
Yeah,
Well,
I do
appreciate
have
the
one.
question. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned, I think it was the last question. I think you mentioned that there was a a ranger named Chris. Do you happen to have his full name?
Chris Town?
Chris Tower.
Chris Tower. All right. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
This isn't a question. I just wanted to say thank you for coming. I can imagine you have a pretty busy schedule as the Scout Executive and CEO, and I just appreciate you being here.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk with you guys at any time. I came out to talk to the staff a couple times last summer, and happy to come and speak with you guys when you have questions or concerns. You can certainly send me emails or call me. That's not a problem, and I certainly will make you a priority and get to you as quick as I can. Like Ryan said, we have a planning conference coming up this week for the staff of the Michigan Crossroads Council, and I wish I could be with you on webinar, but I'm actually sitting in my truck making this call in Camp Rotary. So speaking of camping, that's where I am right now. I'm at Camp Rotary. So appreciate the sentiments and the kind words.
Awesome. Well, thank you, sir. We appreciate your time, and look forward to seeing you here in a few hours. We're going to move on though, and let's look at our next thing. Our next piece in tonight's conversation is a little discussion about the leader guidebooks. So both of these documents are located online and available for each and every one of you to go and access. And I wanted to take a quick moment and give you a quick tour on how to find them. So if you were to go to the Michigan Crossroads or michiganscouting.org website, and right here at the top you see this thing called Outdoor Adventures. If you hold your cursor over it and scroll down, oops, sometimes this little thing will pop up, but scroll down to Forms and Resources. You click on Forms and Resources, and then you scroll down about 3/4 of the way down the page. Now again, this is where you could find basically any and all information related to summer camp, okay? So if you have questions, if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, well, how much does camp cost? You can direct them here, okay? Or where are the dates for summer camp? But it's got all the camps in here, and about 3/4 of the way down, you'll see right here, a Gerber Scout BSA Leader's Guide 2020. If you were to click on that, it opens up an Adobe PDF version of the guidebook. And this might be a good thing for each and every one of you to kind of review and look over leading up over the next month and a half, okay? Because this has kind of the outline of how, it's got the history of how camp was established. It's got the key contact information for some of the folks. We're going to get Chris and Mary added to this, but it's also got each of the program areas and kind of what they do and what happens there. It has the information about the Order of the Arrow and how that process works. It's got information on what other additional trainings are offered at camp, the weekly schedule, the daily schedule, what merit badges are offered and when they're offered. Additional information about what are prerequisites for each of the individual merit badges, okay, and so on. And there's a ton of other information in here, but it'd be good for each of you to look at it and try and read some of the information about it. The other item is if you go back to that michiganscouting.org and you went down to Cub Scout Resident Camp and you clicked on that, it brings up a page for folks to register for Cub Scout Camp, Resident Camp. And if you scroll down just a little ways, it'll say Gerber Scout Reservation. You click on either one of these. These take you to the actual sign-up page for the resident camp. Pretty soon here, the leader guidebook for the Cub Scout will actually be located in the same place as the Scouts BSA Gerber Scout Camp one. But for now, you can find it here. And right down here in attachments, it says 2020 Betty Ford Adventureland Program Guide. Okay. If you clicked on that, again, it brings up a PDF of the summer camp. And then here it has a lot of the information about how camp works, what kind of the schedule looks like, common questions that folks have, and so on. So I just wanted to point that out and bring that to everyone's attention. If you end up talking to somebody or someone has a question about summer camp and where to find information, this is the first and foremost thing that you might want to encourage them to go find. Okay? So, moving on. I'm going to turn it over to Keith Oliver and to talk about activities and program areas.
All right, can you hear me?
You're
All
a
right,
little bit soft, but yep.
I'll scooch in closer. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the program areas. You can find the descriptions in the leader guidebook that Ryan just mentioned. So rather than walk you through all of that, we have the opportunity as the camp staff to make these program areas become adventures, right? We're the ones who take Scoutcraft and Handicraft and turn them into things that campers will remember for their whole life. Or on the Cub Scout side, we take the wagons and the forts and we make them into programs that are fun adventures. So as you're looking at the camp leader guides, you get an idea of how camp is going together. If you've been to camp a few times, you might already know a lot of the things that we've done in the past. But we want to look at it with new eyes. We want to take these areas and make them ours for our camp staff this year. So if there's something that has been done in the past, we can do that, but we want to consider whether it's the best thing to do before we commit. So at our in-person trainings coming up in a couple of weeks, we're going to have opportunities to sit down and run through ideas that we have for how to make each of these areas come alive for the campers. And if you think about it between now and then and jot down a couple of ideas, those conversations will be fun and interesting. And we can find a way to make everything mesh together into an amazing camp experience. If that's the first time you've thought about it, when we sit down at the in-person training, we might do some long, slow, struggling brainstorms, which are a terrible idea in my book. So think about it before we get there. Think about, if you know what area you're in, think about what you're going to do. And come prepared to share your ideas, hear other people's ideas, and mesh the whole thing together into an amazing camp. Back to you, Ryan.
Awesome. Thanks, Keith. And next up, again, to talk a little bit more, I mentioned earlier about getting your contracts turned in. For those that are CITs, there will be a CIT contract. I believe we put one in each of the packets during your interviews. If you didn't get one, email me and we will get you one. But I'm going to turn it over to Mary Steck to discuss a little bit about, the paperwork process and everything.
Thanks, Ryan. So for all of you who have received your contract, what we need you to do right now is to get that signed and returned, because what we can open up then is the site called WorkBright. And on that site will be all of this paperwork that you're going to need to sign. It actually gets done online. It's pretty painless, but it will take a little time, which is why we gave you those forms to start looking at. So when you get that done and when you get your access to WorkBright, please get started right away filling out that information and getting it turned back in. We would really like to have those things completed by the time we get together in person at camp for the first time. So get as much of that done. Unfortunately, my job will be to hound you to make sure that it's all taken care of. So let's get a good start before we get together in March.
And just to let you guys know, if you don't turn your paperwork in, you don't get paid. So it's important to get that done.
Actually, if you don't turn your paperwork in, we're going to send you home until you do your paperwork.
Absolutely. All right. You guys are probably wondering, what's up next? What's the big thing? So coming up next is going to be Keith will talk about this again later. We're going to do a second round of staff interviews for some of the open positions we have, and folks that are interested in working that didn't get a chance to interview. So if you know of somebody that is interested in working, make sure that they get their application turned in and get signed up for an interview on February 15th. After that, February 23rd will be our second webinar. And our guest speaker for that webinar is going to be Mike Solgrove, who develops a building legendary camp service manual that you guys found in each of your packets that we handed you after the interview. He's going to talk through that guide. So it'd also be important between now and February 23rd that you kind of read through that document. Because if when we go to have that conversation with Mike, it's important that you have questions, and instead of reading it after he has this conversation, we can address those. We can answer your questions at that presentation. Following that, we're going to have Sue Hastings Bishop, who was the dean of the Ferris State Rec Department, Ferris State University's Recreation Department. She was also the president of the American Camping Association for that national organization. She's going to talk to us about experiential education in the outdoors and how we expand and think outside of the box on delivering activities and merit badge programming to our scouts. Following that, in April, Aaron Gatch, the president of Ford Field Service Council Scout Executive, is going to come on, and he's going to talk about customer service, alignment, and give a couple examples of how the Disney down in Florida utilizes some of their customer service in providing an awesome program for folks every day. Following Aaron in May, we've got a professional leadership presenter, Dave Harmony, who for a living goes around and coaches CEOs across the nation and helps them build on their leadership. And he's just a really kind of neat guy. So really hope that each of you join on May 31st to hear David. He usually have to pay him lots and lots and lots of money to come and do a talk. And he's offered to do it for us, for our team, because he believes in what we do and really wants to help us be stronger. So we've got those coming up. Our first in-person training is March 27th through the 29th. Our second in-person training is May 1st through the 3rd. And just so you guys all know, you will be compensated for all of these trainings and webinars and everything through your first paycheck at camp, okay? We can't pay you ahead of time because we've got to do it through that process. So a couple extra days will be added onto your paychecks when you get to camp to offset your time and investment for these trainings. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Mary to talk about the in-person trainings coming up. Mary?
Sorry, bumped that button too many times. So in-person trainings, we will be at Camp Gerber. We will be doing a variety of things. Part of it will be just making sure that where we're staying is in shape for people to be in it. But we're going to be working in teams. We're going to be working in your program areas or your assigned areas to get your programs put together. Keith will be working with you, helping you design the programs that you're going to be presenting. One of the things we're going to talk about are Fire Bowl dining hall characters. So you need to start thinking about that before we get there. And we'll give you more information on that. But as you know, you've all been to Fire Bowl. We have skits that we have to put together. let's think about what are your favorite skits, what are appropriate skits, what might we want to do. We're going to spend time with health and safety training. Part of that will be some first aid training, some basic CPR training. Those are things that we're required to have in place for all of our staff, and we'll do those at those in-person times. We are going to do some thinking about what kinds of, and Cub Scouts, this is going to pertain particularly there. What kind of songs can you do? How many songs do you know? I know that was something that was asked of you when you interviewed, but what songs do you know that you can share with others that they don't know? We'll get those in place so everybody's comfortable with those kinds of things. We're going to walk through what it takes to check in campers, to check out campers. That's a process that we changed last year. We changed it for the better, but I think we can streamline it and make it even better yet. So we'll walk through that and practice that. Event planning for the evenings. How are those activities going to go? All of that takes place on those in-person training dates. We're going to look at writing lesson plans, getting everything ready for teaching your merit badges, and super den training, and about 100 more things that we really have to cover. So I think you can figure out from that it's critical that you make those weekends. So please be thinking ahead. If you have a part-time job, if you have other things that take up your time, make sure to make those arrangements ahead of time so those weekends are free and you can join us at camp as we get ready for the summer.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mary. All right. I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Oliver to talk about positions that he's still looking for.
All right, so we've got a lot of people on board. We've come a long way. There's still some positions open. Some of them are very important key positions and lots of staff to fill in down the ranks. So here's your chance. If you've got a friend or someone that you know that would be great at camp, there's an opportunity for you to get them to come spend the summer working at Gerber with you. You can see on the list there, we've got program staff in most of the areas, as well as service staff on both sides, the Scouts BSA side and the Cub Scout side. So if you have friends who are interested, get them to fill out the application, get their name and contact information to myself or Ryan or Mary or the guys on the Cub Scout side, and we have an interview time scheduled in February that we can interview them, get them on staff. All right.
Awesome. Thank you, Keith.
Thanks, Ryan.
The big thing I want to highlight too is that some of the areas that we're struggling to find folks in is, and I know it's not a very fun job, but it's a very important job, is the dining halls on both sides. Right now, we currently have no staff identified for dining hall staff. We got some cooks, we got some stuff there, but we don't have anybody to help keep the dining hall clean. So if you know a scout that you know enjoys working hard and wants to spend a summer up here with advantage to having more time off than a traditional staffer, encourage them to work in the kitchen. That's where I started. I loved it. It was awesome. All right, I'm going to move on to comments and questions. So at this time, if you have a question, Jarrett, you did a great job of raising your hand. There's a button in there somewhere that you can raise your hand if you have a question. So go ahead, Jarrett.
Yeah, the lower raise hand button is in the participants tab down at the bottom for anybody that needs it. But my question, I actually have two. Can I get more specifics on the interviews? Where can we find, like, is there a link or somewhere on the Michigan Crossroads website where I can find the times or where to submit a application so I can send it out to my buddies or my group?
Absolutely. So if we go back, right down here at the bottom, you can see https://michigansky.org/campstaff-app. What we need them to do is we need them to fill out the application to work at camp. And once they fill out the application, then we can email them a link to sign up for an interview. Okay?
Okay, and the login stuff can all be found at that link or where to submit your application?
That is the link to submit an application.
Cool. And then my second question was Mary Stack touched on submitting and working on the paperwork. Do we submit that online somewhere? Is there an online version? She mentioned something about that. Or do we fill it out in paper, then send it in or scan it in somewhere?
So you need to first complete your contract and email it back to me signed. Make sure that on page 3 you check all of the check boxes or initial all of the check boxes before you sign and send back. I had a couple people that forgot to do that and they had to go back and do that. Once you send me that contract back and I receive it, then I upload it into this online program called WorkBright, and I'll send you an invite to it to start working and completing all of that paperwork.
Okay.
A lot of it is done electronically online, and it's there for you to fill out online. When we did the interviews, we handed you guys a lot of that paperwork so you can start filling it out right now. And that way, when you get the link to do it online, you have it all kind of already done. It's just completing it. So, but all of the paperwork is required to complete online.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Fedora.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Do we have a aquatic instructor identified yet?
We do.
Oh, we do? Oh, that's
We do.
awesome.
Absolutely. We
You know,
can't make any announcements until we get contracts back. So, so I will hold on telling you who that is. Did you have another question?
no more questions from me.
All right. Soda Pop.
Hey, I was looking at my contract. It says I'm an area director on the Cubs side. What do I do?
All right. So Soda Pop, if anybody has questions pertaining to their contracts or their positions, I would encourage you to either contact myself or one of your camp directors to have that conversation. It's probably not the best idea to have it on a group chat like this because that's personal information between the leadership team and yourself. Okay?
And
So I would
I
encourage. Yep. Go ahead.
You can finish.
Okay, I was just going to say I would encourage you to reach out to Colin or myself to have that conversation. Okay.
Okay. The other thing is, I already know I'm not going to be able to make it to the second in-person training. So
That's okay.
that is
We
okay.
we understand that not everybody's going to be able to make it to everything. What we were encouraging was is that you try and make sure that you look at your calendar and you get it on your calendar. And if you currently have a job, that you work to make sure you got time off and what have you. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So I won't be like.
You won't be penalized for not attending. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
So if you could email us with that information, because, you know, we're all getting older and we forget those things. If you could send that in an email, then we'll make sure that we get you the information in another format so that you aren't going to miss out on things.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
All right. I'm going to move on to Sasquatch. You have a question. Sasquatch. All right. Well, we'll come back to it. Gabe has a question.
So the question I had, you guys mentioned that when we got the papers, so actually, forgive me for that. We got the contract, we fill that out, we initialize it, we send it back to you, and then you mentioned something about filling out the actual forms online, something called like WorkBright. Can I get the specific name for that?
It's called WorkBright.
WorkBright?
Yes, correct. You will get an email with a link in it. you'll be able to go in there and set up a profile page, and it'll say, here's all the paperwork you need to complete, and you complete it there.
All right, got it. Thank you very much.
Yep. All right. Quinn.
So I was just wondering what the theme was, because we were discussing about creating characters, and I was wondering if we could have a theme to kind of like maybe create some characters off of.
Absolutely. So I would suggest first and foremost, a lot of the characters we're probably going to revolve around some of the evening program stuff for, characters for the dining hall characters. So if you look in the Leader's Guidebook, there's some themes for each of the evening programs on the Scout BSA side. And is Colin, are you on? I know Spencer had another obligation tonight, and I don't recall what they had identified for a theme. I think that they were mixed between a couple different things. Keith, can you help me remember what it was? I want to say it was TV show.
Yeah, their two theme ideas were Gerber TV and the Final Frontier. And so I would keep a couple of ideas in your mind, because for the Boy Scout side, we're not settled on a theme yet. We have stuff in the Leader's Guide, but as we meet during the in-person training, we're going to put things together. So if you come with one idea that you're committed to, then we have to try to fit you in. But if you come in with a couple of ideas, then we can find which one works best, and that's the way I would rather go.
Absolutely. Does that help?
Yep. Thanks.
Cool. Absolutely. All right. Kazoo.
Hey, am I coming in okay?
You are.
Alrighty. So I was just wondering if the area director team could be put on an email chain so we all recognize who we are and could get and coordinate more sometime soon.
Absolutely. We need contracts first. So
Yeah.
So I have currently, I think, 3 or 4 contracts out of the almost 80 I sent out. So if that helps you guys put it in perspective. Absolutely. We want to try and do as much as we can to help you guys communicate and build your teams. We tried to establish some of that last year. So it's, the earlier start, the better. But yes, your answer is yes. And Keith,
Alrighty.
anything you want to add on that?
No, that's good.
All right, great.
Alrighty. Building off of that, I was wondering if I could get, through email, of course, a list of people that were offered positions in my area that would be on my team, so that I could connect with them and see how their status is on their contract and stuff like that. Maybe encourage them a little bit more to join the camp family.
Yeah, I'll work with Mary and Keith to discuss a plan on how and when we can share that information, and we'll get it to you as soon as we can.
Alrighty, thank you.
Yep. All right, Sammy.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
So I was wondering, do you have to attend all 3 of the in-person trainings?
There are 2 in-person trainings.
Ah, okay.
If you can make it, we would encourage you to be there. If you've got a family obligation or something else that you have to do, we understand. Just make sure to email us and let us know that you can attend.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Odin.
Hey, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. So I had 2 things in question. One, I wanted to ask something similar to Kazoo about a list of staff in my area. If I could get something like that, that would also be great.
Absolutely. We'll work on that again. Keith, did you have anything you want to share about thoughts or ideas with the area directors and anything that you had in mind?
No, I don't have anything in my mind right now.
Okay, great. All right. Anything else, Cody?
No, that's it right now. Thank you.
All right, great. Thanks.
Hey, Ryan.
Yes.
I just want to, are you guys listening to the common theme to the answer to these questions? We really can't share information until contracts are signed. So please take a couple minutes, figure that out, and get that back to Ryan, because then we can start talking about those kinds of things.
Absolutely. Blizzard.
About contracts, can we just send them to you through email, or should we wait for Workbright?
No, you would need to send them to me via email.
Okay.
Because you don't have, nobody has a Workbright yet. When you send me the contract back, I can then go and upload your contract into Workbright, and that will trigger an email to you saying, here is your link to start working on your paperwork.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Jarrett.
Yeah. So I know I can find it somewhere, but never mind. So I think it was Quinn mentioned earlier something about characters. I had no idea what that was about. Does that relate to everybody or just specific people? And if it does relate to everybody, could you explain what he meant by characters and what that overall theme is? What that means?
Absolutely. And we can dive into this on our next webinar next month. But just a real quick overview. Each meal at summer camp. So for instance, say the theme for Monday night's evening activity, say it's pirates, right? So, or say Thursday's evening activity is pirates. Leading up to Thursday throughout the week, either at a breakfast or a lunch or a dinner, there may be a couple pirates that come into the dining hall to get people excited to go participate in the pirate activity Thursday night after evening program or during evening program. Okay? Or if the theme on Wednesday night is Order of the Arrow, or not Wednesday night, Tuesday night, say Tuesday night's cowboy night, and maybe there's a couple cowboys that come in and promote and do, maybe they come in, they'll do the messages that are up on the board, they'll talk a little bit about something, and then they, do a song or a skit or something and let everybody go. So those are kind of the dining hall characters. Other types of characters would be during Fire Bowl, opening Fire Bowl and closing Fire Bowl. Sometimes you have skits that have characters that repeat from beginning to end, and they're returning skits, and they have certain characters that they are. Like one year, there was a guy that was dressed in a deviled eggs costume, or a giant banana costume, and he did the banana song. So those are kinds of characters that we're talking about. Okay.
Cool. Thanks.
Awesome. Yep. Claire has a question.
So, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
For CITs, do we have a contract?
Correct. So I will get the list to Bernice. Bernice, she's on the video with Keith there. You can see her on the left-hand side. She's waving her hand. I'm going to get the list of CITs to Bernice, and she will reach out to each and every one of you with one of those contracts. They should have been in the packet if you came for an interview. There should be one in there that you could start working on and filling out. But if you don't have one, just wait here about a week or so, and you'll have one in your mailbox. CITs do not have to do all of the Workbright paperwork. Okay, so they just have to fill out that one contract.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Kazoo, you had a question again.
Yeah, so I was wondering, are we going to try to do an overarching theme this year, or are we going to do because I saw in the adult leader guide, it says we're going to have different themes per evening activity. Last year, from experience, talking to some of the youth on camp, they were confused when we tried to mix the different aspects together between what was it, pirate or ninjas, cowboys, and carnival folk. They were confused on the overarching theme, and are we going to try to?
I don't think last year we had an overarching theme.
So Ryan, that's something that the Scouts BSA staff will discuss that at the in-person training, and we'll set up we can always make slight adjustments to what's in the leader's guide. If we change the theme of an evening program, we can get that word out to the Scout leaders. So prepare to discuss that at the in-person training.
Alrighty.
Thanks, Kazoo. All right, I'm going to take three last questions. I'm going to answer three last questions, and that's it. So Gabe, Sammy, and Eli, you are our last three candidates. Gabe, go ahead.
All right, so I had a question about the staff handbook. I don't remember seeing it in the packet that I got after the interview. Is the staff handbook, is that accessible online, or
That will be in WorkBright when you get the WorkBright access.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Sammy, good question.
Yes. So in my packet that I received at the interview, I saw that some trainings on there were the youth protection training, the hazardous weather training. How do I get those, or do I need those as a CIT?
Yep, CITs can take those. All that training is done online, and we'll make sure to cover that at the first in-person training, where to get that stuff, or through one of the webinars in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. All right, and our last and final question, Mr. Eli.
Hello. As a CIT, do I need to pay for summer camp?
No, as a CIT, you are a volunteer staff member.
Awesome.
But if you decide that you want to go to summer camp with your troop, you would end up having to pay to go to summer camp as a participant.
Would I still be able to do merit badges?
Yes, all the staff will be able to work on merit badges outside of their work during summer camp throughout the summer. But if you want to go and be a participant at camp with your troop, you still do have to pay to go to camp. CITs will be expected to work as CITs the time they're there as a CIT.
Okay.
All right. All right. Well, just so you all get this on your calendar, February 23rd is our next webinar. Raise your hand in your little thing if you felt that 8 o'clock was an okay time to hold the webinar. So most of you. All right, now lower your hand. I don't know if I can do that as a function. Here we go, lower all hands. Raise your hand in the thing if you feel that it should be at 7 o'clock instead of 8 o'clock. So about 25%. Okay. Well, we'll keep the next one at 8 o'clock. And we'll try our best to make sure we're out by 9. Sorry to go a little bit long today. We had those are our first one, so we had a lot to talk about. Move on to the next slide. Thank you, each and every one of you, for being a part of our team, being a part of this family. We're so excited to have an awesome summer this summer, and we'll see you down the trail. See you guys.
Thank you.
Hey, could we get a quick repeat on what the in-person training dates are?
Yes. May 27th through the 29th. Sorry, March 27th through the 29th. May 1st through the 3rd.
Thanks so much, Ryan.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys soon.